Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing this very low-key, you're like, but those eyes, Alicia. Low-key face routine. I didn't use a foundation or a tinted moisturizer today. I strictly stuck with concealer, my bronzing base that I showed in another bronze skin video, but I went in extra with the eyes and just some lip. I tried some new products today, some high-end, some drugstore. So if you are looking to see what those products are and how to achieve this look, then please keep on watching. I've been keeping it light and applying as little makeup as I can. And with that, instead of applying a foundation or even a tinted moisturizer, I have been evening out my skin tone just using a concealer, and this is the Nars Soft Matte Concealer in the shade Biscuit. I love this formula. It melts into my skin. I am going to mix it with ginger, still the same concealer, and I simply dip into both pots with my fingers because the Biscuit is still a little too dark for me. And when mixing it with the ginger, it gives me the right amount of shade match for my skin. I get under the eye, around the nose here, because I get so red, and I will blow my nose at some point during the day. Unfortunately, my allergies have not left me, and it's cool. I've gotten used to just dealing with that part of my face, never matching the rest, because it's always red. Any blemishes I see on my skin, like this one here, I simply just pat the concealer on. I love this formula. It melts beautifully into my skin, doesn't leave any marks or just doesn't latch onto dry patches. It's a really great product. I love this concealer a lot. Now for the face, and as I mentioned, since I'm not using a foundation or tinted moisturizer, I'm going in with my Chanel, what's it called? Soleil Tan de Chanel. It's expensive, it's bougie. I love this product. It's light in texture. It's like a gel formula that dries down to a powder, and it doesn't look cakey or powdery. It's a really beautiful formula. And with that, I am going in with a Morphe E52 brush. It's synthetic and I'll pick up the cream product. I swirl it around and I start on the hollows of my cheeks. And even though it's very light, it still gives me some coverage. And this is kind of like my foundation step, if you will, for this makeup look. It is a nice balmy 90 degrees here in NYC, and I had to turn the AC off or else you will hear it in the background. I'm gonna get through this, folks, without melting. And you can layer on as much as you like to get the color payoff you're looking for. But again, I just love how you buff this in and it doesn't look cakey, it doesn't look heavy. It's a great alternative to foundation if you're looking to just a quick step to adding color and glow to your skin without having to use a foundation. Look at these eyebrows. Look at what they're doing. Whew, it's rough up there. I forgot to set my under eyes, and even though this is low-key, super chill, I kind of still have to because this concealer will crease on me. And with that, going in with a loose powder, this is Mercier. It's the mini edition. A Smith 112 brush, and just carefully, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna do that because I know better. And although it's not baking, I have better results using a damp beauty blender, and I press the powder to my under eye area. Because if I just dust it on, I still get, my mascara still drops on my skin, and I don't know why. I think it's just my skin, or this I like better. I get better results from it. If this is way too much powder for you, use a light hand with a brush to the under eye area. But again, I need to press my powder in, and I'm not leaving it to bake. I'm making sure it's all being absorbed by my skin, not leaving anything on. I gotta sure get those corners, see that? Those corners will play you. Smile lines as well. For the rest of my face, I think, did I bring it with me? I go in with my Bobbi Brown loose powder in Golden. I'm looking in my makeup bag right now and I can't find her. I will just go in with a bronzing powder to set the cream because, again, it's a light texture, it's a light formula, but I do have oily skin and it is hot outside. Just to ensure it won't melt off completely, I do want to set it with a powder. So I'm going to use the new Pretty Vulgar bronzing powder in the shade Bronze Manniquin. This is their Bronzed Bee bronzer. So many bees. I tried it yesterday and I have to make sure I start with it high because it kind of looked muddy on me, and I think it was my application, so I'm gonna blame myself and then try this again and see if it will apply better today. Using a Morphe R7 from their Rose Gold collection, I'm gonna carefully just dip in because this has a lot of kickback and is very pigmented. Oop, that doesn't have a mirror. And I'm gonna start very high with a light hand and just buff that in. That's a little better. I'm still deciding if I like this bronzer or not. This is the second time I'm trying it. I like the tone of it, but I can't decide if it's different from a bronzer that I currently have, like if I need to keep this. It's a smooth formula, and again, it doesn't look orange. It looks brown and golden on me. But you see, if I don't buff this in, then it will look a little too tan. Tan game, too strong. The jawline, but it is super pigmented. And the other shade, the lighter one, I think would have looked too gray because it looked very light on the website. So I wasn't too sure if I was going to benefit from that color. Take a powder brush to buff that out, which I love to do no matter what, because it ensures that the product looks seamless on the skin, and if there's any excess on here, it'll buff it out and it won't look too overdone. What I will do though is go in with my Becca Cosmetics Sunlit Bronzer in the shade Ipanema Sun. I really love this bronzer. If you want to check out swatches and other swatches from Becca products, I will link that video down below. I am thinking about returning the Chrissy and Becca palette and the Bronze Bondi. I feel that I don't need those shades, and although they are beautiful, they're not beautiful enough for me to keep. I like my blush shade in the Sun Chaser palette more than the Hibiscus Bloom shade in the Chrissy palette. And I really love how this shade of bronzer looks, and I use it as a contour just to give a little more depth to my cheekbones. Right on top of the Bronzed Bee from Pretty Vulgar. I start high with it, and that just gives me a little more depth. And I like this shade because it's more brown than amber and doesn't show up orange on me. So this bronzer is definitely a keeper. And when I get more tan, I will just use it as a bronzer and not as a contour shade. So that's the plan. Brush that along the sides of my nose. Not very contoury because I'm using a huge brush, but just so the whole face looks cohesive. And this is a place where the sun naturally hits as well. So we gotta hit it with some bronzer. I am excited to use this new blush from Physicians Formula. It is a drugstore brand, although it costs $15. It's still the drugstore, and it's not $30, right? That you would spend on a higher end blush or like an Hourglass brand or something like that. This is in the shade Plum Rose. They also had another shade called Natural Glow, which is more pinky. I swatched this on my hand, nothing showed up. I'm very curious as to see if when I do apply with the brush that something does appear. I also have the Milani Baked blush in the color Bella Belini. I saw this on Melissa Alatore's channel, and when she used it, it looked beautiful on her. It's like a golden pink shade. It's really beautiful. And I'll quickly swatch the Butter blush. Like, you can't say nothing on there. I don't know if this is gonna work, friends, but we'll give it a shot. With the Morphe E4, let's try the Butter bronzer. I'm sorry, blush. I feel like something is there. It's very light. It's buildable. I'm seeing in real life that something is appearing. I need a little more. So we're gonna go into Bella. That's it. It does have a little sparkle in it, a little sheen. I don't mind it because it gives a nice glow to the cheeks. But if you're not into that, this blush will not be for you. And when it comes to these bronzy summery looks, I punch it onto the apples of my cheeks instead of starting it higher on the cheekbones. I feel like that's more glam, that it lifts the face, is more dramatic. This, when creating that flush of color, that beachy glow, applying to the apples of the cheeks will create that effect. Like I always love to do, buff that out so any of that extra sheen could melt into the skin. It won't look too sparkly and shimmery. This is what I'm really excited about. Again, I saw this on Melissa Olatorre's channel. She used a Maybelline eyeshadow to create or have as her highlight, and this is in the shade the Glo Down. And I'm using a Morphe Y14 highlighter brush. I'm gonna take that on there. Start high on the cheekbones. Oh, that's so pretty. Who would have thought? Powder is powder, whether it's packaged as an eyeshadow, a blush, a face powder. So technically, if it works for your skin tone as a highlighter, why not? Go in for it. This sucker costs $5. Pretty good, I should say. That is multi-use. You could use it as a highlighter, as an eyeshadow, which is what it's packaged to be. Yes, I'm putting it all over. The Glo Down is going all over. And for the tops of my cheeks, I like to go in with a blush topper, and I am going in with my Wet n Wild Megaglo highlighting powder. One of the best drugstore highlighting powders to have ever hit the shelves. This stuff is stunning. I like this as a blush topper. It also comes in a lighter shade, which I use on my cheekbones. I like to use the shade Crown of my Canopy right on the apples of my cheeks. And that just gives a really nice glow to the cheeks. How are we looking, friends? Are we looking glowy? Glowy and fresh? And now, let's fix these suckers because they are looking crazy. Benefit Precisely my brow pencil in the shade 6. And I try not to go in too hard with the brows, that I just give enough shape to them, fill in the gaps so they look like brows and not like, I don't know, strips. I lightly start at the bottom and I trace along the bottom. I like to create a new line because I have so many gaps. And then as I get close to my arch, I take bigger strokes to fill in those holes. I carefully pull it down to the tail. And there we go. We got a brow. Light strokes towards the front, so it looks hair-like. Emphasis on like. Very light hand. Quick strokes will give the most natural looking effect. Make sure you use the spoolie on the other end to brush out the product. I also go in some on the top. I gotta brush down first so I actually see what I need to fill in, and just a little bit on the top here because I have some holes here as well. I've been contemplating getting a brow powder because even though I use a pencil, when I brush it out, it brushes out my work, and I think I need a powder to fill in those gaps after I've sketched it out with the pencil, but I'm still thinking about it. Brows are done. I'm gonna leave them just like that. I usually sketch it out with concealer, but I reserve that step for like more glam looks, and this will do. For the eyes, I will either leave it like this, but I wanted to dip into the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia. Lovely. Oh my god. One of you had asked that I use this palette on one of my tutorials, so I am going to dip into these colors because warm shades on a naturally bronze skin look work best for me. So before I go in, I will like to prime my eyelids because they are oily, and to make sure the shadow stays on all day, using Urban Decay's eyeshadow primer potion in the shade Fix, just lightly, not heavily as I usually do when I'm creating more elaborate eye looks, just enough to cover the lid and to eliminate that oil. Going in with a touch of loose powder to set that primer. We just applied a little bit, but it still can feel tacky. We want to ensure smooth blending. With a Morphe Y17 into the color Burnt Orange, we start to build up the crease shade. This is like the best palette. So who's thinking about getting the Natasha Denona Sunset palette, guys? That sucker is $129. And I'm like, oh my god. I wanted to include it on my anti-haul, but Natasha Denona shadows are exquisite. And apparently the matte colors are a new creamy texture. You're killing me, Tash. Killing me. It's sold out everywhere, so I have time to contemplate, but if one of y'all have it and are feeling it, let me know down below. Same brush with the color Real Gear. It's a beautiful orange that recently came out as a single on the Anastasia website. That color, Love Letter, I think too, which is in here, came out as a single for the summer collection. So if you are wondering about this orange shade and don't want to get the whole palette, you could get it as a single. Oh, so good. I love. I'm taking it right under that burnt orange shade, but I'm not being too careful with it. I'm being a little reckless because I just want to get it into the outer corner and into the crease. But because we laid down that burnt orange shade first, it's not gonna blow up too high. With the Y16 now, which is a fluffier brush, I'm just gonna blend out the edges. So those two colors combine. And now with the color Red Ochre, and with, I'm gonna switch brushes. The Y18, which is a smaller brush, is pinched. Now more into that outer V to deepen up this part of my lid. And I also go in on the inner corner. I like to punch it in first to get it where I want it. Then I go back with the fluffier brush and blend. Or I could just blend like this. Either will work. Soft circular motions so it doesn't go up too high. Just a touch of Cypress Umber. I think that's good enough. And now for the lower lash line, I want to use different colors. So with Venetian Red here, on a smaller brush, preferably like a shader brush so it could get tied into that lash line. With Venetian Red, and I like really super smokies. Oh, I forgot how pigmented this is. Lightly past the lash line. And now with now with a Luxie 231 in the Real Gar shade, the orange one, I smoke the Venetian Red out. And with a touch of Cypress Umber just to the outer portion, and then I connect it to the top and just wing it out a bit. For the center of my lid, I think I'm gonna go in with Primavera, this beautiful shade here, and I'm using my finger and just patting that to the center of my lid. You could also apply this wet if you want a more pow wow effect, but this shade is so pigmented and beautiful dry that it's nice to know that you don't have to rely on your Fix Plus to make it show. So pretty. I love this palette. And now on my pinky to the inner corner with Primavera. And one last zhuzh using my Y16 in the burnt orange shade. I'm just gonna go over the edges of the entire eye look, so it could look cohesive, just to pull all the shades together. And just a touch of highlight on the brow. I rarely do this, but why not? This is a Morphe E36, and in that Primavera shade, to the highest point of my brow. And it just gives it a really nice touch. I'm not going to put on any eyeliner. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. We've already went beyond simple, but trying here. Just some mascara, but first we curl. My go-to Too Faced Better Than Sex in Waterproof. Go pump these suckers up. I just realized that this looks exactly like a makeup tutorial I did a couple of months back, but that's okay because the skin's different. The foundation or lack of foundation routine is different. So the eyes look the same, but and I use a Violet Voss palette and not the Anastasia one. This is very similar to a look I've already done, but I wanted to go on here and show you how I've been doing my skin because I've been eliminating the foundation step, the baking step. Oh, I messed it up. And I really have been loving how my skin's been looking with just concealer and the bronzing base. So that's why I want to get on here and share. Putting on lots of mascara because I want these babies to show. Gotta make the mascara face. I've been thinking about getting extensions, but I haven't seen extensions that I liked. And I know the point of them is for your lashes to look more fluffy and lush. They just all look fake to me. They all look like Cindy Lou. Like, just that. And I'm still looking for lash extensions that are not gonna make me look like that. So. And I know as it will get hotter, I'm definitely not going to wear as much wing liner, or I could, and I know because of the lashes and the glue they use, you can't use your usual eye makeup remover. So if you live in New York and know of a lash extension place that you've been loving, or if you've seen your friends go to and love their results, comment down below. Think this is it, friends. We've done our brows, lashes, eyes, inner corner highlight, blush, bronzer. Okay, lips. But first, the new Cover FX mattifying setting spray. This is alcohol free, which I love because I never use the Urban Decay All Nighter. It has alcohol in it. It's like the second ingredient in there, and it's drying to the skin. This has kaolin, which is a clay that this naturally absorbent in nature. And my skin looked so like golden and dewy. Forgot fanning with the palette, whatever it takes. Lips. The Tarte Rainforest of the Sea lipstick in the shade Colada. Dose of Colors lip gloss in the shade Undressed. Just a Touch of liner from MAC. Cork. Oh, can't forget the brows. Gluing them down with Anastasia Brow Gel. And we're done. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hoped you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. For any other summer looks you want to see on here with eyeshadows, different bronzers, different highlighters, let me know down below. And until then, I will see you guys on here again. Bye!